What is elevated intelligence and where did you hear that phrase?
I actually coined that phrase, and it is the fusion of your intuition or your spirit's wisdom with your intellect or your own wisdom. And so that
Amazing.
you're inviting that partnership all the time. And the people who are the most successful in the world are already using it, whether they say, I just have great gut hunches or I have my finger on the pulse of the market. However, they're describing it, the most brilliant people in any career are operating from their elevated intelligence. And so this is just giving everybody else that edge.
Amazing, giving us that access point to that portal and then the guidance around how to cultivate that relationship. So good, Christine. I could talk to you forever.
Same.
Well, hey there, and welcome back to Fire and Soul, the space to deepen into your divine alignment and further activate your unique spiritual awakening. I'm so happy that you are here. I have a special guest, my dear friend, Christine Lang, former attorney turned medical intuitive author and wellness expert, in celebration of her upcoming book. And I want to get this title just right. Ask Your Spirit, Receiving Life-Changing Wisdom from Your Elevated Intelligence, that will be out on June 10th of 2025. But you can pre-order and get some bonuses. And this conversation will show you how to do that. You may remember Christine Lang when she visited Fire and Soul last year, about a year ago, in fact, and it was one of the highest downloads ever to date and one of my most favorite conversations around the art of spiritual hygiene. And this conversation really picks up where that one left off. And of course, we circle back a little bit, and I'll link that first one in the show notes for y'all if you feel called, because you probably will. This is a very inspiring and empowering conversation to literally learn how to attune to your spirit and to understand the distinction of what your spirit and who your spirit really is. And how is it different than soul or egoic mind or even highest self? And to begin to cultivate that relationship with your spirit so that you're no longer outsourcing your ideas, your conclusions, your choices, your decisions, your thoughts, your beliefs, your ways of being in the world today. And of course, this is so fundamental and essential for our overall well-being in these epic evolutionary times. And so I'm excited to share this conversation with you, a really deep weave with a woman who I have come to truly cherish and honor. And you'll hear exactly why and how she helped me with a very specific medical emergency. And she healed me from afar. She knows what she's doing. She's embodied in her calling. And I want to do her a deep honoring by reading out her bio. So because I don't have prompter and I'm doing this as a one-woman show, let me just read what I have printed out. So, as a young lawyer in the corporate world, Christine's high stress levels resulted in constant allergies. As she doggedly sought a cure, she discovered an amazing gift. She has the ability to see people's energy and hear their spirit, give incredibly accurate advice. As a translator for each person's spirit, Christine helps clients receive clarity on how their stressors have resulted in the symptoms and life that they're currently experiencing. Clients can wait up to a year to get a private session with Christine, as she consistently delivers practical, actionable advice from the spirit world. Over the past 25 years, she has worked with a diverse range of clients, ranging from C-suite executives, television writers and actors, to pro athletes and medical professionals. Her upcoming and highly anticipated book, Ask Your Spirit, Receiving Life-Changing Wisdom from Your Elevated Intelligence, is a complete roadmap to opening up direct conversations with your own spirit. With Christine's clear and inspiring guidance, readers will find the answers they need regarding their health, relationships, and career. After reading this book, you too can operate from your elevated intelligence, a blend of your spirit's wisdom and your conscious awareness, to get accurate, meaningful answers to your questions and dilemmas. Today, Christine resides in North Carolina, where she shares the vast wisdom that she has learned from the spirit world through her private sessions, healing classes, and guest appearances. She asks, what if your struggles aren't random, but purposeful messages from your inner wisdom pointing you toward a better life? And therein lies the beauty of Fire and Soul, and an opportunity to sit down with this incredible luminary that I am super excited to share with you today. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with my dear friend, Christine Lang. Christine, I'm so happy to have you back on the show. It's like I get to hang out with my long lost soul sister.
Oh, I love it. I love our conversations.
Me too. And can we say hi to your friends on the wall and all around you? Like, what is happening in this beautiful plant realm?
Those are pothos plants. And I thought, I want to train them to climb up the wall. And so I found little clear thumbtacks with hooks on them. And they just took the invitation and ran with it. And now they're all the way up to the ceiling and all the way out to the sides. And, my husband jokes we're going to have to sandblast them off here if we ever move because it's the jungle now. I love it.
But it feels so good. And I can only imagine what it must feel like for you to be there because when I look at it, I get this blast of aliveness, of life, of sentient energy, right? And you're just surrounded by that, which makes so much sense for what you are birthing. So
Yes.
we are here to celebrate and honor and acknowledge the incredible work that's come through you that I remember hearing about when I met you back in New Orleans, January of 2024. So not that long ago. And it was this book that you knew was coming through you that is now going to be coming out on June 10th called Ask Your Spirit. Greatest tagline in the world, by the way. Can you share that?
The tagline is receiving life-changing wisdom from your elevated intelligence.
Oh my goodness. And what is elevated intelligence? And where did you hear that phrase?
I actually coined that phrase, and it is the fusion of your intuition or your spirit's wisdom with your intellect or your own wisdom.
Amazing.
And so that you're inviting that partnership all the time. And the people who are the most successful in the world are already using it, whether they say, I just have great gut hunches or I have my finger on the pulse of the market. However they're describing it, the most brilliant people in any career are operating from their elevated intelligence. And so this is just giving everybody else that edge.
Amazing, giving us that access point to that portal and then the guidance around how to cultivate that relationship. And I mean, I'm definitely going to ask you some questions, but I also want to weave back to having you on the podcast. I think it was February or March of 24. And it's one of the highest downloads to date of Fire and Soul of almost 7 years of being, around and that conversation still to this day, my friend, when you were talking, and we'll link it in the show notes, by the way, because you guys have to hear it. The beginning title, if I recall correctly, is The Art of Spiritual Hygiene and like connecting to your spirit or something like that. I'm remiss that I don't have it off the top of my head, but we were reflecting on where we really connected in New Orleans for an event with the Transformation Leadership Council. And I had some entities begin to attach and really take my frequency down. And then you explained to me, hello, you're Swiss cheese, and I had never heard that concept. And so I'd love for you to just quickly, in a mini guidance, share what Swiss cheese is, how to protect against it. And then I want to just honor you and complete that little button there.
Okay. So I would say if you're an older soul, which everybody listening to your podcast is an older souls are more and more porous. So think of it this way. If we walk through a smoky bar and I'm holding a piece of metal and a piece of leather and a piece of lace, and we walk through the smoky bar and then we go stand out in the parking lot, the metal doesn't smell like smoke. The leather might smell for a minute or two, but that lace is going to smell for days like smoke because it's so porous, it instantly absorbs so much. You are super porous because you're an older soul and you are in this expanded state. You vibrate higher and in a more expanded state. So you're more porous and you absorb things. So you absorb negative energy and grief and shock and upset as from people you walk by. In this case, we were in New Orleans. There's lots of dead spirits hanging around thinking it's fun. And they were all kind of moving in on you. And you were starting to pick up the angst that a lot of them felt as they died.
Yes. And I remember we'd come back from this bar, restaurant, dance club thing at 7 p.m.
Yes.
And there were a few of us were like, not quite the energy that we were looking for this evening. And so we had come back to the hotel early. And this is when I hadn't really yet connected with you. It was like night one of like a 5-day, event. And I saw you doing this energy healing. And I heard myself say, I don't know what that is, but I need that. I need that. And it's just these words came out of my mouth and it was clearly my spirit directing this human into right action. And you turn around, you're like, whoa. And you had a big visceral response and you were like, just, if I recall correctly, it was like removing these dark sort of low frequency leeches almost, right? Of just no judgment on a leech. Sorry, no offense. But like just removing them and literally I was just like, came back to life again. Yeah.
Well, when you walked over, your lip was trembling and you were trying not to cry. And I just remember said, those actually aren't your emotions. Hold on for 1 minute. Let me finish with this person, and I'm going to clear the person whose emotions those are. And you're like, okay. And then as soon as we did it, you're like, oh my God, I feel fine, right? You have instantly returned back to your normal, happy self when that person who was upset, their ghost was escorted off of you.
Yeah, it was incredible. There's so many things that I actually really want to know. Okay, one other thing I have to speak about, but let me finish on the Swiss cheese, because from what I remember, what you were saying that I've shared with all my clients, all my friends, all my retreat participants, anyone that I have an opportunity to share when they're like, God, the energy is just so heavy, or I just feel like I'm being bogged down or whatever. I'm like, oh, you're Swiss cheese. And I'll say, so this is what Christine Lang says, right? Like you want to put yourself in like this beautiful bubble of clear glass, and you want to radiate your beautiful light field energy out, but you're not available to take anyone's energy in. So you're creating a parameter around yourself. And I remember you even talking about the flashlight, right? And how to get bigger and bigger and like understand our light or understand our field. But that was just like wrapping yourself in like this protective field, but not disallowing yourself from being able to send love and light out.
Right. And the universe is happy to reward what I call informed asking. So if you just say, universe, don't let anything bad ever happen to me, the universe is not, that doesn't make any sense. We're here to have experiences. But if we say, I want to radiate loving energy out, but I don't want to absorb any energy that's not healthy or helpful to me, the universe will then shield you, right? That visual bubble is you directing the energy to form a shield. And the universe says, sure. So I shield myself before I go out in public all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you forget, which sometimes I do, then you can cleanse yourself energetically. And I've got classes, little recorded classes up on my website for teaching people all the different techniques to do that. It's super simple. And once you do it and you make it a habit, I have little like printouts of a knight in shining armor or like a magical Dorothy of Oz bubble. And they're just little stickers, and I have them stuck on like the dashboard of my car or where my coats are, my purses. So as I'm going out, I remember to shield myself.
Yes, I love that. Oh my gosh, I love those beautiful little reminders. The other thing that I'm remembering from that conversation that I've also shared with so many people, and I'm just like shocked that I didn't know it, and that everyone that I've shared it with never knew it either. So that means it needs to be shared again. And that is when you said that when you're in an environment, whether it's an airport, a grocery store, the DMV, in traffic, and you notice that you're starting to yawn a lot, that there's a chance, well, you said it's like because the energy is really low frequency, it's really heavy and dense. And so your body is responding somatically, right? And then you were just talking about some different techniques of how to begin to release that or integrate that. That blew me away. Is there anything that you want to expand on that? Or did I get that correct?
Just that you've got it exactly correct. You're such a good student. You get A student. But when your brain or body registers a sudden drop in your vibration, a lot of times your brain goes, oh, we must be tired and getting ready for bed. And you'll start yawning. And so that's that signal to start, oh, should we start releasing melatonin? Are we getting ready for bed? So if I forget to shield myself from other people's energy and I go to the grocery store and I come out of the grocery store and I'm yawning and I'm like, it's 2:00. Why am I this tired? Oh, it's because and then I think back and I go, oh yeah, I walked past that guy and he seemed really sad. And when I feel into it, I'm like, oh, he was grieving the loss of somebody in his family who's just passed, right? And I can feel into that. And then I can just release that energy off by asking the universe, please cleanse me of anybody's energy that is not my own.
Yes,
Then you return to yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. About a week and a half ago, I was driving through a part of Austin that I had not yet ever seen or experienced. It was a new pharmacy, a naturopath had sent me over in some other spot. And as I was coming back, I actually got lost. So then suddenly I was on some roads, even though my GPS was trying to redirect me, it was like rush hour and it was like trying to find the fastest, best route. So suddenly I'm in streets and under 5-lane highway, overpasses. And I'm in what would probably look like tent city to downtown LA, right? So a lot of homeless, probably some just sad energy, some grief filled energy. Who knows? All I know is I wasn't scared, but I was like high vibing, like full of energy. It was midday, like my life is beautiful, feeling so blessed. And suddenly I go through this and it wasn't the visual.
Right.
Right. It was the energy. And all of a sudden I'm like yawning, my eyes are watering, yawning, 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 yawning. I get through that. It was like 2 miles and all of a sudden it was like gone.
Nice.
So wild for me because I'm just still learning about these energetics, even though it's way more familiar to me now. So I just wanted to say thank you for that because it's helped people. Again, we'll link that full conversation because it's such a powerhouse conversation in the show notes. So definitely check that out. But you have something really exciting happening, my friend. You are birthing a book. So when you were on the show last year, we were talking about that, coming through, right? But you were still in it. I think you were still finalizing the proposal. So whatever's alive and juicy for you in the moment to share about what that process has been like for you to bring something that's such a gift that's how do you even describe it? How do you then bring it into real life guidance? Like, I'm just in awe.
My spirit was talking to me for a while and saying, you should write a book. And I'm thinking, you should write a book, right? I'm a little busy down here. And so at one point I opened up my calendar for the whole year and was booked out in like a couple of hours. I'm like, well, this is not sustainable, right? There needs to be more of me. And my spirit said, I want you to write this book so you can put yourself out of business. You can teach everybody how to hear their spirit for themselves. And I was like, oh, that got my attention. So I always say my goal for this book is to put myself out of business because I don't want to be the middleman if I don't need to be. I mean, I always say if this is like tennis, I'm playing like Venus Williams. I probably can't make you into Venus Williams, but I can get you out there playing a heck of a game, right? And so my students, the thousands of students that have come through my courses always say like, I can't believe I actually can ask my spirit a question and she tells me. And I know why that supplement doesn't work and why these two supplements don't go well together. And I can't believe I'm hearing the specifics on this. And I'm hearing why my, partner and I keep arguing about the same thing and what those toxic relationship patterns come from. And so being able to get those answers, it's like magic, right? I mean, when you get those downloads and you get that information, life is just easier and it makes sense. And you realize the universe isn't random and you don't feel like a victim anymore and you don't feel alone. And that's the magic I want to give to people with this book. And I always say the steps in the first 5 chapters of this book are like handing you your spirit cell phone number. It's like, here is the step by step of how to make that connection, how to sit and listen, how to double check your answers. And then the second 2/3 of the book, I call the relationship manual because it's how to ask your spirit questions so you get answers on each topic. So there's like, the competitive friend, the super critical person in your life, the toxic work environment, all these different questions, how the spirit world to answer some questions and not others and why, so that you get really helpful answers. And there's all kinds of exercises in every chapter and client stories to demonstrate how the universe talks, right? How your spirit is likely to phrase things for you and give you visuals and give you analogies.
And kudos to you because I can only imagine the task at hand when you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I make this accessible, relatable, and understandable to the masses, right? Because you're dealing with a very wide range of awareness of spiritual work, self-growth, self-awareness. So how did you begin to understand the framework around how to make this be something that no matter if you've been on the path for 20 years and you feel like you're really attuned, but you just want to freshen up and get like a terrible phrase, but like a booster, if you will, right? Like the latest upgrade. Or if you're brand new to just even becoming aware that there is something known as a higher consciousness, AKA your spirit, that is looking out for you at every turn in this life.
What I love, and I think the timing of this book is no coincidence of when my spirit really pushed me to write it, is in the last year. I'm sure you already know this. In the last year, the veil is getting thinner and thinner, and the energies that are coming to the earth are increasing in intensity. And what it means is it's easier and easier to channel. It's easier to hear the spirit world.
Yes.
So people who are long-term channelers, like Lee Harris stuff, our messages are just getting bigger and bolder and louder, and my abilities are expanding because of it's so much easier to operate in that. But even my beginning students are going, oh my gosh, I studied with you for a 4-hour class and I'm getting messages from my spirit, right? I mean, it can be that easy. So to me, it was the perfect time to write the book because I didn't want to teach people and have them not experience success. So to have this, I won't say it's guaranteed, but this is like learning a foreign language. If you put in the time, you will absolutely do it.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh my God, I love that. The assurance there. Yeah. I have a question for you on the veil because I've heard you say that, and I know many others talk about the veil is thinning. Do you think, though, maybe it's also that it's an individual veil? Because I feel like my veil is thinning, but maybe another person that I know, their veil isn't thinning. Is it this general veil or is it an individual veil?
So here's how I would look at it: as there is an individualized veil, but what is actually, I think, more accurate way to say it is the energies that are available to the earth are intensifying.
Oh gosh,
So you
yes.
might say, okay, well, that person doesn't seem like their veil's thinner. He seems denser than ever, right? But it's because the increased energies are pushing him deeper into his coping mechanisms.
For sure.
So he's kind of going more asleep.
Yeah.
Right. So then people say, oh, well, the veil's only thinner for some people. No, it's that it probably veil isn't our right. That's an old type languaging left over from the 80s. Right. But I think that it's more accurate to say what frequencies are available to the earth. And there's definitely an uptick in the frequencies. So more people are able to tap in and get more explicit guidance than they have in the past. They're having more success in channeling. And likewise, people who are based more in hate are getting more entrenched and doubling down on their rationalizations because they're responding to the pressure.
They're responding to the pressure, and it's like that love or fear. And I think that the people who are more in that extreme polarization and division, it's just the fear, 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 fear. And then they continue to numb. And yes, I don't have so many of those people in my life anymore. It's actually really wild. You and I really connected on the alcohol thing, and it's not like our jam. No judgment on anyone who it is, but I was thinking about it the other day in this really big, courageous move to Austin. And we definitely need to share the story of me being here 1 month in and calling on you. And I will get there in a moment. But I was like, wow, the other day I was realizing I don't think I know a single person here. And I have this beautiful community that just was waiting for me, and I've been more social here in the 8-9 months than I was probably in 10 years in LA. So it's just easier, right? It's also easier to get around, just, and it's a way smaller place. And it's also a lot of like-minded, like-hearted consciousness for me. And it's what really was calling me here to begin with. But it's like, wow, I don't think I know a single person who drinks.
Oh, interesting.
We have huge barbecues and parties and gatherings, and there's never once been alcohol brought or served.
Wow.
Ever.
I'll have a glass of wine, but what I know I've shared this with you, like when people get beyond that couple glasses of alcohol, their vibration drops.
I know.
And so
they
they're
don't
never
know
coming from their highest self. And it's just like, yeah, I don't want to really be around that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So that's interesting. Then the fact that you're saying that makes me realize that probably our spirits are finding each other and it's a frequency fit, right? And so yeah, but I remember being in LA and years ago, because I haven't drank alcohol in almost 4 years, but that's what we did.
Yeah.
That's just
a social lubricant.
Absolutely. Yeah. You went to a brunch and you had a couple glasses of rosé, you had dinner and there's going to be red wine or whatever and cocktails and that was considered sexy and cool, but things have just changed. And I continue to listen to my spirit. And these days, like my spirit doesn't even want to gummy at night. It's like everything just has to be really pure. And I'm really grateful for that because the more subtle it is, the more that I'm able to listen. And so I'm thankful. But I want to share something because you were on in the early part of 24 and you and I cultivated a friendship. It was one of the greatest blessings that's come out of the Transformation Leadership Council for me is meeting you in New Orleans and finding like a long lost soul sister and then when I was about exactly 1 month into my voyage into Austin, I had something really traumatic happen. And I shared the full story, so I'm not going to go into all the details here. But I was on a morning walk with my pup on August 8th. I'll never forget it. Last summer, so 2024. And I was just bopping along, listening to music, and got him behind me, not on the leash because he doesn't really like the leash. And that had always been fine for us. And we around the corner at about 8 a.m. and it was already like 95 degrees because it's Austin and it's the summer. And I sat down to look at my phone to find just the right music to do a little meditation. And I hear this, and my pup leapt off the ledge and I didn't know what was on the other side. And so in that moment, I shot up in complete shock and horror of what I might find. I didn't know if he'd be dead or I didn't know what. And I know he doesn't like water, so there's no way he was like trying to swim. My Achilles tendon split. And then I blacked out and I came to, I don't know how much, it couldn't have been more than a few seconds, was able to crawl around, see that he was in the water. So it was the lake about 20 feet below us. And he was just kind of like, whatever, doggy paddling and just all calm, but probably in shock, but really calm. I was able to fish him out, but I couldn't get up the mountain, at that point. So I lay there for probably another hour and a half in and out of consciousness. About a day or two later, I realized that, no, it was like 2 days later, my calf had expanded to like twice the size of what it should be. And it was turning black and blue. And everything on the Google said that I had to have surgery. And I called multiple ERs looking for like an MRI machine just to kind of give me, a more precise, I didn't want any sort of an x-ray, but it was like, okay, I need to know what I'm really dealing with here. And then when not a single one of those urgent care locations had an MRI machine, which is really interesting because I must have called a dozen. I know, and I live in a pretty sophisticated city, it just wasn't meant to be. My spirit, I know, directed me to send you a text. Now, I have to be honest, I felt nervous to reach out to you for this. I know you're busy. I know you book out like a year in advance, all those kinds of things. I knew you were working on your book. And I was just like, you cannot bother Christine Lang for something like this. But my spirit was like, just text, see if she's available. So I said, Christine, here's what's going on. I sent you an audio note.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into the details, but I'm pretty sure something's happened. If something's happened, can you tell me what to do about it? Your message to me, and I want you to fill it in a moment, was I'm with a client. I'll call you back in an hour and I'm going to heal it. So you'd already felt into it. So I'm with my friend Azure because she's in town to visit me for the weekend. And Azure is also like an Akashic record reader. So she's sensitive, but you texted me and you were like, okay, so here's the deal. You did split it, but I'm going to put it back together right now. But I just need you to sit down and just relax. And I think you told me how to breathe or something, but I want you to fill that part in. All I know is that in that moment, the whole living room became activated, to the point where Azure's, all the hairs on her arms, the back of her neck. Right now, I'm getting the chills as I even say it. And we were just like, whoa, what is happening?
What is happening?
And I just knew that you were doing your magic. And I knew that I was available to receive it. I knew that I believed in the possibility of it. I knew that it was all divinely orchestrated. And I was just like, okay. And literally within like 30 minutes, I could press my heel down and hobble, which then concerned you. But I want you to, so that was a miracle healing, but it just speaks to who you are, the gifts that you've been bestowed, and how you show up in a moment of urgency for those that are actually able to receive. But can you share what your experience was in that moment?
Sure. As soon as I heard your voice, the first thing my spirit said is, she's in shock. Yeah. And your voice had a tremble to it that wasn't just about pain. It was, and I could just tell your first and second chakras were blown. And so you couldn't right yourself. You couldn't feel grounded. You couldn't feel safe. Mm-hmm. So I knew you'd been stranded for a while, right? It didn't just happen and somebody immediately carried you home. And so I knew that was the first thing. And so I left you a message saying, don't move. I've got you. And right away, I just started clearing negative energy around you, kind of wrapped you in a blanket of light, and then went into my session, did my session, came back out, and started putting, reattaching that tendon. It was there and it was okay, but it needed to be reattached so it didn't sever all the way and require surgery, and then put an energetic cuff around it, and then sort of gave you that feeling of safety back by balancing you, clearing all the fear. You had a lot of fear and your pup had a lot of fear, and then you sort of traded it back and forth, right? So it was a sort of amplification, and then you ended up holding all of it, because dogs shake it off and they're into the next moment and humans can't, right? Not so well. So clearing that off of you then lightened your load, and then you let me in all the way, and then you were able to partner with me. And you so trust me and trust letting me in your energy field. You were right there with me as I was doing it. Your spirit was like, yep, this too. Okay, right over here. But so your spirit and my spirit gave me directions, and I'm just the chef following along. And then just worked on you like 3 more times that day to keep the energy infused and keep that tendon from severing. And then you're like, I can walk on it, like, sit down.
I was ready to go to yoga.
I was like, no yoga. So then you and I wrestled a bit on keeping you inactive for a few days, and over that next week. And I remember saying, you need to touch base with me at the 6-week mark before you start working out again. And you did. You were very good.
Girl, I did not work out once in 6 weeks. I didn't even do a power walk. I kind of just I had it wrapped in an ace bandage because that's what you had recommended. And I was a good girl. And then, I was back in yoga again, 6 weeks later. But Yeah, that was a very traumatic experience, and I thought that that Samson had died, and so that's what caused the shock that had
Of
me
course.
shoot up, right?
Yeah.
And my pup is named Samson for those of you who are new to the show, but yeah, it was, you know what, I was sharing with so many friends who I've shared that story with, that miraculous healing, that I think is our actual true nature. I think that all of us, and that's what your book is teaching us, of how to source that for ourselves. So we're going to get into that in a moment, because I have some juicy questions for you that we have typed out, and I'm going to read because I want to just get them just so right. But is that I've said many, many times, there's so much that had to have happened, and you said this, but we hadn't talked about it until before I hit record today. So this is months ago now, right? This is like 8 months ago now.
Yeah.
And but I was sharing with people all along that so many things had to have been in place. I had to, first of all, believe that it was possible.
Yeah.
I had to also then believe that it was possible for me. And then I had to have the courage to reach out, because so many would be like, oh, I cannot bother Christine Lane.
Right.
But that was actually a pretty quick one of like, oh, please get over it. Just text her, right?
But I think it also helps. I remember in New Orleans when you're like, why are all these ghosts attracted to me? And I said, because you're like Swiss cheese and you have this kindness energy that you don't want to bother people. So you're less likely to chase them off, right? Whereas they come near me and I'm like, no, right? And they're like, never mind, right? But I think if you think back, it also like let you experience my work in a way where you had total trust. If I said, I've got you, you knew I had you. And so I think that was the predecessor, like the setup for you, that when I said, in August, I've got you, you were like, okay. Right. And there's that trust.
Yeah, it was incredible. I still feel so blessed that I know you, and that I was able to access you, and that you were actually available, because, you work with a lot of clients and you're in a lot of meetings. You're a busy woman on a very, very big divine mission. And that you were like, yes, I'm working with a client. Here's what's happening. Sit still, don't move. I'll be back in an hour. And I was like, okay.
You're like, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty damn incredible. Yeah, so I want to thank you again for that. And I think, again, it really speaks to how much I learned from you in our quick deep dives together. It's so funny, I can't even relate almost to the person of like the Swiss cheese, from what, 14, 15 months ago, because these days, if entities or energetics or whatever they might be show up, I know how to ask, are you here to do me harm? Are you lost? What do you like? No, it's just like, I know how to like just either send them on their way. Like, are you in the Bardo looking for the light? Because it's not here. Like, it's that way. Or like, I rebuke you in the name of, and whatever I feel called to, like, sort of like also send that on its way. I haven't had to do a lot of that in many, many, many months, but there was a while while it was around, and it was also around a lot in LA.
Yes, definitely in LA. LA, there's a lot of lost souls and energies in LA. But I will also say this, to me, it's a hallmark of your growth, because when I met you and you were like Swiss cheese, a lot of that was because you were raised as a pretty female in the US, which is be pleasing to get your way. Be pleasing to elicit people to take care of you. Be pleasing so things will go your way. And being pleasing means let people encroach on your boundaries a bit. And so that became habitualized for you, just like it did for me and for so many people. So whether you go into being a full-blown people pleaser or you just default to that, it's probably okay. It's probably okay. I'll make nice. I'll smile. I'll do that. All of those outer behaviors are mirroring what's happening in your energy field. And you, as you've grown so much in your knowledge of who you are, and you've strengthened your relationship with your spirit, you have this quiet knowing of who you are now, and you're not Swiss cheese anymore.
Yeah, no, I can't.
So now when people come to you, they're not coming in, they're coming onto the edge of your energy field, and you feel it right away and go, how can I help you? But you're not coming in.
Oh my God, woman, preach. I mean, there's this term that I heard like maybe 6 months ago, the perfect timing. I was really deep into this, and there's a distinction between caring and carrying.
Mm,
Do not
nice.
carry the burdens of others, but this does not mean that, you don't have to express caring. And, in the work that I do and the work that you do, it's like those entanglements can become really unhealthy, right? And then
Yeah.
there's just shadows working and I take full responsibility for my own part of like wanting approval and self-obsession and all of that. But all of that dismantling in 2024 as I was closing out a year of a 9, right? Of just endings and like karmic cycles. And it was such a perfect year to like then start in this one so fresh, so clear. Not that I get it perfect and right all the time, but I'm just like, yes, I can
Yeah.
listen, I can ask, and I can know.
But to me, the best, I always say nobody has your back like your therapist. I mean, like your therapist, like your spirit. Nobody has your back like your spirit. And I always say your spirit is the best therapist,
Yes,
life
yes.
coach, health coach, your spirit, best career coach, all those things, because your spirit's been with you since day one and knows why you have, whether it's people pleasing tendencies or toxic behavior patterns or whatever those, your spirit will coach you through it and say, this is where it came from.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to move through it. Right. So developing that relationship with your spirit where you're sitting and meditate. This is beyond sitting in meditation. This is sitting in meditation and having a conversation
Yeah, that's
with
right.
the highest part of yourself. It leads to lack of Swiss cheese. It leads to such a sense of knowing of self that you're impermeable.
Beautifully
Right? Doesn't
said.
mean things won't affect you, but they don't come all the way in because there's no room for rent in there anymore.
Yes, yes, exactly. Now, there are, I know, quite a few people that are listening. They're like, okay, I'm not quite there. And by the way, I'm not there. And I imagine you're not there, Christine, all the time, right?
No.
It's a spiritual practice, and, and,
Yeah.
and so that's what we're doing, cultivating more of that strength and wisdom and inner knowing. But I'm very curious, how do you make the distinction or how do you describe what is spirit over highest self, maybe even over soul? Do you have a distinction between those
Yeah.
three? Okay.
So I would say spirit and the highest self are fairly interchangeable, but your soul is the piece of the divine that chooses to incarnate. And your soul incarnates for the purpose of experiencing growth and expansion and experiencing being a creator. But it doesn't really want for anything to create. It doesn't care if it has a blue car, yellow car, doesn't care. So the universe gives you an ego mind. And the ego mind compares and contrasts and chooses. Oh, I like living here versus there. I don't want to go to the mountains for vacation. I want to go to the beach. So your ego compares and contrasts. So your spirit is made up of say 80% your soul and 20% your ego mind. And the reason is because if people say no, only talk to my soul. And I say you're not going to like the answers because when I ask somebody soul question, they go, all is well. This is perfect. And people are like, no, 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 I want the raise. I want the promotion. I want the better job. And so that talking to your spirit means you're incorporating in the things your heart is yearning for,
Mm.
and your soul is the one driving it, right? Is giving the primary answers. So when you're connecting in meditation to your spirit, everything you want is known,
Yeah.
right? And then your spirit's job is to increase your awareness. So one of my favorite questions that I ask in meditation when I connect to my spirit, I say, what is it time for me to know?
Oh, that's a beautiful way to phrase
And
it.
it reflects what I now understand and am ready for the next step.
Yeah. What is it time for me to know?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful prompt. I will typically say, show me what I need to know or what I need to see today, which
Yeah.
is the same thing, but like, what is it time? It's really an honoring of the evolution of our journey when you phrase it that way.
Well, and one of my big phrases is spiritual humility. I
Yeah,
want to be
exactly.
humble as I come and ask. And when I first started my journey, I was a lawyer as my first career. And so when I first discovered I had disability, I put my poor spirit on the witness stand and pummeled her like I was a prosecutor, like, well, why is this happening? Why is that happening? And why do we have to age? And why do women have to get wrinkles? And and she'd be like, okay, okay, right. And so I came at it with this sort of energy of upset and righteous indignation. Well, why would this child have to get cancer? And why would that person have to have a car accident? And I wanted things to be explained so that I would think they were, quote, fair.
Mhm.
And one of, I think, the greatest gifts we get when we really start being in communication with our spirit is understanding nothing's random, everything's for our benefit, and just how it's for our benefit, how it's set up, right?
Yeah.
So the client last year who was in a very toxic work environment, and we both knew it, and I knew she needed to get out. And it was kind of a good old boys network, a bunch of Yale grads and rah rah, and she finally got let go, and she was really upset in the way that it happened. And her spirit said, "This is the gift. Take a few weeks, take 2 months to rest, then look for a job, and you'll have a job by April." And she's like, "Do you know how tight this job market is?" And last month she called me. She's like, "I got the job. It was the one you were thinking I was going to get." Not that I'm about predicting the future, but her spirit was just trying to reassure her, like, this is all in hand. It's done. It's done with this idea of where you're going next. I mean, all you have to do is open up to what's here for me to learn.
Yeah.
What are the obstacles I might be putting in my way? Right?
Yeah, it's so beautifully said. I remember living in that dynamic and living within that fear paradigm of just like so much anxiety of needing to know the next thing and needing to get out of the discomfort of the unknown and the uncertainty, right? And these days I've literally put myself in it. So it's just where I exist. I think I really need it right now, because I'm like, I kind of like love not knowing, and it's just being delightfully surprised, but also knowing that I'm held by God, held by my spirit. And so, but yes, there are moments when you're like, okay, you got me for sure, right? And that was actually in the shower recently. And I was talking to you about this before I hit record of, I say this with a lot of gratitude and humility. Like, I'm in a really beautiful place in my life and in my business right now, where I don't work a lot of hours and I'm making more money than I ever have. But I'm also working with my dream clients, and it just feels so easeful and such a blessing. But about a week ago was, the eclipse season really kind of highlighted a lot for me. And it was just like, so, but why? I am curious. Like, I have all this spaciousness. I'm living in this beautiful home with this incredible backyard that's a nature sanctuary. Like, I feel relaxed, but to the point of like, there's got to be more. This is not it forever, right? Like, again, grateful, so thankful, but I'm like, but there is something else. And all of a sudden, yeah.
Can I share? I'm hearing
Yes.
your spirit. I'm hearing your spirit say this is a little leftover energy in you from the days where you had to work and hustle so hard. You and I both came out of that hustle culture in LA, and there's still that last bit of saying, are you sure it's okay that it's this easy? Are you sure there's not like the other shoe's going to drop? And your spirit's like, that's where you just take that bit of angst and picture handing it over to the universe. Here, I don't need this anymore. Right?
Yeah. And you know what? Thank you for saying that, because I definitely felt that message of like, oh, does it really get to be this easy forever? Like, or am I just like in a fluke? And I was like, no, this is, because I remember feeling this even last spring, and I knew that I had shifted into something different. And so now it's just like even more so. But what I was thinking last week, and you'll have to let me know if my spirit wants to add an addendum, because what I was thinking is like, I'm not bored. I'm not like, I'm grateful. I love what I do, but I'm just aware of like, I'm ready for something else as well, right? I've had 18 months of just a lot of time and quiet and solitude and spaciousness, but it's just like, is there more? Like, in other words, like, am I here to do more, serve more? Not that I need to be any sort of known person. It's not about that. It was just, are my gifts to be used in any other capacity? That's what I was looking for.
Yes, I think they are. And I think the questions for you to ask your spirit in meditation or in prayer is, what are the things that I need to do or heal or obstacles to remove so I can do that next step, whether it's call in the right relationship, bring in the next great project at work. There's work that your spirit is waiting for you to do and heal, and then those projects come through. So when you say, is it really going to be this easy forever? Your spirit said, it won't always be that carefree, as in you have this much free time, because I feel like there's going to be some real passion projects where to the outside world, you're working really hard and you're like, no way, I'm loving it. Right. So your day-to-day schedule, I think, is going to go up and down, but it can feel this good.
Yeah.
It can feel this purposeful. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense, because the book idea came back and I started on that 2.5 years ago. I made some progress, but it just wasn't time. I wasn't ready for it either. And I really don't feel like the collective was as excited about it. And we'll just see, again, how many people it serves, but it doesn't matter. It's supposed to come through me. But the thing that I think my spirit is talking about right now is just the sedentary lifestyle that I'd become accustomed to. So it's like, yes, you have to get your fitness and your health as a priority, that this must be number one, so that I have the energy, right, to like move forward with what is required to bring this creative project to life and ease.
And I also feel like you're meditating more, even if you're not sitting in meditation. I also feel like you're in more of a meditative state. So I would say it is you're building up your energetic endurance as well as your physical endurance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. I've been working on my spirit for like a few years now but I kind of like didn't work on the body. So we're like, okay, yeah, you got to bring that in. That is the vessel that's going to carry this project to life and yeah, so it's like a little bit of weight gain but also honestly not being that hard on myself. It's like, okay, so it's life and I've been here before and but it was just like, yes, right now I want a 5 hour morning with me and God and nature and the candles and the altar, and that's been super important. So, yeah, my spirit, I feel like we're really good partners, but for those who are just beginning to collaborate with their spirit, how do you begin to even know what that is? And then what does that begin to look like? I had a question of like, yeah, I know our spirit wants to collaborate with us, but how do we know it's our spirit and not some other false light?
Okay, that's a really important question. So I'm going to answer. That's kind of a two-part question. So I'm going to answer
Okay.
two parts. So the first about how do we begin? There is something in the book called the divine centering technique, and I was a guest speaker at a big retreat, and these healing guides came in, and I said, "This room feels rowdy." They said, "This is what you need to do to calm all these people down," and they gave me this beautiful exercise. And when we did it, everybody's blood pressure dropped, their heart rate slowed down. It was profound, and so now I use that all the time, and it's in the book. And if you order the book early, if you do a pre-order, and you go put your receipt number back on my website, it'll give you this as a separate guided meditation that I made. And it's the divine centering technique brings you into alignment with your spirit. And I did it with somebody today in a session, and she said, "Oh my God, I actually feel like you gave me a Valium." I said, "Well, I can't. I'm on Zoom. I have to give you a Valium." And she's like, "No, but it seriously feels like that." I'm like, "That's how you're supposed to feel. That calm, that centered."
Mm.
And I'm like, "Now from there, tell me what you know. Tell me what your spirit's telling you." And she was like, "Oh, now I feel my truth."
Okay,
Right.
so that
So
makes total sense.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that getting in alignment is wonderful and so critical. And then how you know if it's your spirit or your ego mind yammering in your ear is that when things come in from your spirit, first of all, your spirit never yells and there's never a sense of urgency because there isn't fear behind it.
Yes.
So when messages come in from our spirit, they tend to float in like a cloud, and there's just sort of this gentle knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come in from your ego mind, it comes in like an arrow, and there's always a "you better" in it. Like, you better call that guy back. You better go order cat food right now. It won't be here in time. Those are never messages from your spirit if they make you contract.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's something you don't want to know, like, "Yep, it's time for you to leave that job," you're still going to expand because you're going to be like, "Yeah, I have worries about that, but I can feel that that's true." Right. So when it's from your spirit, you will soften and the front of your chest will expand out. And when you have a message from your ego mind, you contract.
Yeah, that's interesting because I thought about someone who, like, for example, a woman walking down a dark street at night, and she gets this intuitive hit, which would be spirit, right? Of like, turn
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And she avoided either something that could have happened, right? And all of us have an experience or many of those that we can recall. And it's like when you think about it, yes, maybe some would say, well, that's urgency, but it's just a clear knowing and you feel expanded into the next action.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
And I
quick
would say,
and it is, yeah.
yeah, even though the situation might be dangerous, and people might argue, "Oh, but I could feel that sense of urgency." I would say, no, your adrenaline and your central nervous system felt the urgency, and your spirit whispered, "We'll just turn right."
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
So yes, there was urgency there, but the urgency was from your body and your energy field. Just like somebody can walk up behind you that you love and you know who it is because you recognize their signature energy.
Mhm.
So that means we're always perceiving when people are within our energy field. So your central nervous system is what keyed you to being in that dark alley, like, "This is not safe. This is not safe." And then your spirit said, "We'll turn right." Right?
Yeah.
Trusting that she could keep you safe. So again, it's distinguishing that takes some experience. But
Well, and that brings me to my next question because I think we are so accustomed to being extremely busy in the mind, the monkey mind, the distractions, the drama, just the intensified, relentless, fear mongering headlines that we see in the news and all of it, right? So, how does one begin to embark on their journey of listening to their spirit? I know you talked about divine centering, but like I'm imagining people are like, I'm not psychic, I'm not a channel, I don't even know how to. I have people in my life that would say, I don't even know how to begin to even understand what you're
Right.
referencing. So, what about them right now? And I realize that's not most of our audience, but it's
That's
some.
okay.
Yeah,
No, it's okay. My one of my favorite quotes from the Buddha is "Be still and know."
yeah.
And it can be as simple as recognizing, like you said, how much noise and how much stimulation. I mean, I'm guilty of it. If I go to the dentist and I'm sitting in the waiting room and they said, okay, the dentist will see you in 5 minutes. I whip out my phone and I start scrolling or I check my emails. And I'm now training myself not to do that because we used to just sit and wait in the doctor's office and sit and wait in the dentist chair. And we would just let our imagination go and we would just think about the things we had to do. And it was decompression time. And we had those little moments built into the day. And now we don't anymore. And so it feels counterintuitive and lazy or unproductive to not be stimulated all the time. But your spirit is not going to interrupt what you're doing if you're scrolling on your phone and go, hey, I want to tell you something. Hey, I want to help you with something. Hey, I want to bring that guy to you. Hey, I want to help, tell you about this great job. She's not going to interrupt. And so it's creating that space. And people say, well, all I do is sit there and my mind goes crazy. And I'm like, let it. Let it run around for 10 minutes and just do whatever it wants and just be with yourself. And then after a few minutes, say, what do I feel is actually true for me right now in the center of my chest?
Mm-hmm.
And that begins that process of tuning inward for what is true for you versus tuning into your head or your external circumstances about what is true for you.
Yeah, that's actually a really good bridge to the next thing that I want to talk about because I think a lot of people are trying to discern truth.
Yeah.
That is all about perspective, in my opinion. My truth is that everyone has their own truth. However, there's something that we can learn from our spirit as we cultivate this relationship. And so I don't know if there's a question in there, but expanding on how to discern truth in these times when it seems very confusing.
I will say this, that even your truth can change from day to day,
Oh,
right?
for
You could
sure.
say, I don't like mint chocolate chip ice cream. And next year, all of a sudden, you start loving it. So nobody gets to be stuck with one truth, right? I mean, we used to think the earth was flat, and now we don't, right? So it doesn't matter if it's science, it doesn't matter if it's religion. Your truth can change. And so when we really are asking is, what is true for me today?
Mm-hmm.
And I know and believe that my truth will never step on your truth. If we both get connected to what is true for our soul, we'll always be compatible.
Mm. That's beautiful. That's a wonderful reminder of staying connected to the connection with someone over the content. And I know that I kind of flailed in that area over the past few years, much, much better the last like 5 months. Feel like a completely different person the last 5 months, but I had to go.
Energetically, you look so different.
Ah, well, thank you for that honoring, but it was trying to get people to see my truth. You know,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm just so aware that whatever their truth is, whatever's ringing true for them in this moment is their truth, right? And to honor that. And then whatever mine is, and when you live from that lens, everyone gets to have their truth. It's
Yes.
perfect. Everything is in divine order.
Yeah. Well, and when people thought the earth was flat, no one fell off, right? It doesn't matter if you have the wrong truth.
Well, Christine, I'm sure that you know that there are a lot of people that truly think the earth is flat.
And
And
that's okay because them believing that doesn't affect my experience unless I let it.
yeah, and of course they'll say the same, you know. But I love that because that's what these times are, is that well, and actually, no, that brings me to another question of is there, in your opinion,
Mhm.
a truth of that the that we are a globe or that it's flat and we have a firmament, right? Like because there are definitely very good arguments on both sides, but would my spirit would say, like let's say my spirit, you hear my spirit saying, no, it's definitely flat. But then I hear your spirit say, no, 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 it's definitely round. We used to think that, we don't think that anymore. But at what point is there a truth?
Okay, so this might be a little mind-blowing, but I would say if I asked your spirit, is the earth round or flat? What she just said was, Tell me why it matters before I answer that question.
Okay, well, actually, that is the only place that I really want to exist. That is the truth of where I want to exist because I have come to a true awareness around I don't know. I have a feeling, I have an opinion, and I don't think it's what I've been taught because of everything else that's blown me open the past 3.5 years that I thought was fact and absolutely truth. And now I 100% do not think that. So I'm just like, well, then why? Like, I thought I was a Gemini my whole life. I'm not. I'm a Taurus. It's not. Tropical astrology is not my truth anymore. Vedic, Asterian, sidereal astrology is what I believe is real astrology, right? So it's like, at what point do we discern
So
of
I would distinguish that it's not that what you now have discovered is real and what you used to believe is not real. I would say you evolved. Let's equate it to school. When you were in third grade and I went to you and you said you have to do math with numbers. And now you're in 10th grade and you say, I'm in advanced calculus and I only use symbols. And the third grader says, you're nuts. And you're saying, wait, kid, wait till you get here. Are either of you wrong? No.
No.
So the kind of astrology you're using right now fits you right now. Mm-hmm. And 2 years from now, you might discover you've had lifetimes on other planets and this Pleiadian energy is so calling to you. And the truths of that time, that lifetime that you had, that's what's calling to you. And that's what you then live by. And I will honor that. And I will say, but wait, you're Taurus. No, because then you won't be. Right.
Well,
and it's just honoring the fluidity of how we're all evolving, both in spirit form and when we're down here as souls. So I don't hold anyone to any truth that they have to continually say, this is what is true. And when I ask my spirit questions like, okay, but what is the truth? My spirit gives me a visual of swim lanes, like swim lanes in a public pool where you have those little lane markers. And my spirit will say, get out of the other person's swim lane. Stay in your swim lane.
Beautiful. Christine, you never cease to inspire me and touch me. Like that whole little discussion right there, that is a pretty deep little rabbit hole, just quick get in and out. But I feel very resonant with what you just said. And I just want to thank you for that because I feel like that is also, we get in the weeds, right? Of like, what's truth? What's my truth? What's your truth? Oh, you think the world is flat? Oh, you think that we're in a globe? Oh my gosh, it doesn't matter.
And I will say the reason that people are so wanting, as you said, the truth with a capital T is because of our fear of getting it wrong and what it means about us and how unsafe we are. And what I will say is you are never unsafe. And you're never going to have it all right because our little human brains can never comprehend the galaxy and the miracle that even is how our brain works, right? Or how the human body works. So I'm just staying in my swim lane. Like, what is here for me to know?
Yeah. Yeah. And what about this just does not matter? And that's honestly what I've just continued to surrender to. I'm like, who cares? The tree's talking to me right now. Do you hear that tree? That tree has a message and all that. That's what matters to me right now. But 2 years ago, or actually 3 years ago, no, 3.5 years ago, I wasn't communicating with the trees in this way, and now they feel like they're my strongest allies, and so yeah, it's a whole different world. And, this actually speaks to what we were speaking about a moment ago, which is many of us are not even the same person that we were, much less a year ago, even a week ago. I don't know about you, but it's just like the energy is so intense. It's like I feel like I'm just shedding. And that's the evolution of these times that we're really trying to grasp.
If you're using this energy to evolve and you're working in partnership with your spirit, with God, with guides, then you're going to be a different person every day and every week. And you want to honor that, right? I teach people to do a supplement check every couple of weeks. Like when your supplement bottle runs out, do I need to order this vitamin C or do I need a different brand, right? You don't want to make yourself crazy with it, but it's honoring the fact that you are continually evolving into higher and higher versions of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you honor that, your intuition just gets nudged. I mean, clients will say to me okay, you and I just worked on me speaking my truth and I could feel my throat chakra getting stronger. And I think my thyroid meds are way too strong because now they're making me feel hyper. And I went in and got my blood tested and now my doc cut my meds by half. Right. And I'm like, great. And be prepared to go off them completely as you keep doing this work or not. It doesn't matter. But to just know you're making that progress because you're healing and evolving and your body's figuring out how to take care of itself in that way. all of that stuff is just that welcoming of the change instead of looking for the static truth that doesn't ever change.
Yeah, beautifully
It's not
said.
going to bring them the security they think it will.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. That's the fear running so much, right? And spirit
Yeah.
is not a fear. Spirit is just love
Yeah.
and light. And it feels my spirit feels very joyous.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. And to somebody who says, but what if the earth is flat? I'm like, it's a playground for us to come. It's this classroom that was created for us. I don't need to know what the outside of the building looks like. I really don't.
no, and I don't even care. Yeah,
Yeah.
these days I'm like, I don't even know what's happening tomorrow. I'm just kind of here in this moment and really enjoying it. Okay, there's two more categories that I feel
Okay.
really drawn to chat about, like how our spirit or cultivating a relationship with our spirit is going to be helpful in these times. Number one is like so many people are experiencing aches and pains and symptoms in their body. So, how can cultivating a relationship with their spirit? I think you might have just touched on it, but like helping us understand what's happening inside our body. And of course, if we come from the old world of like new age, we'll think that we've somehow caused this, right? And it's like, and
Yeah.
it's like a punishment of some sort. So, how would you,
I would say
respond to that?
physical symptoms are never a punishment. They're a love letter from your spirit.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, especially chronic symptoms. And that is a love letter from your spirit saying, oh, honey, this could be easier. Let me show you how.
Yeah.
And it's let me show you the fear based thought that's running you that you don't need anymore. It's not accurate. Let me show you the limiting belief you've put on yourself that I know it's time for you to break through. That's what those messages are about,
Mm.
right? I had a client the other day who had all this kind of foot pain. She'd seen 3 different podiatrists and somebody at Johns Hopkins and all the specialists, and everybody's like, your feet are fine. We don't know what's going on. And she was hobbling like she was 90 something years old. And she's like, I'm in my 30s. This makes no sense. And her spirit said, think of when you're walking on your feet and it hurts. Your feet are trying to tell you the truth that your mind doesn't want to accept, which is every day you get up and go to work and you say, I don't know how much longer I can run like this. And she said, oh
Mm.
my God, I do say that. I'm like, well, your feet are showing you that. And within 3 days, her foot pain was gone because the message was received and she started making shifts at work. The messenger could leave, right? And
Mhm.
so when we have, and they don't always go away that fast, but when we have these physical symptoms, I always say, think of it as, you have a bulletin board that's your body and your spirit's tacking these messages up. And I'm like, instead of complaining that there's flappy papers on you, get the message, read it, see what it
Mhm.
is. And when we approach it with curiosity instead of frustration or fear,
Mhm.
it's amazing how often you get the answers.
Yeah, really so good. Love letter from your spirit. That is so good. I've always said it's information. That's all it is. It's information. But it's like a love letter. It's just such a kinder way of thinking of it, which then brings me into the last little part because it seems that everyone I know, and all the channels are talking about this anyway, is relational dynamics, right? And the sort of dissolution of so many relationships, or the frequency fits no longer being aligned, or so whether it's
Mhm.
business partnerships, romantic relationships, friendships, family, etc., there is a lot of separation, and then there can be shame and pain around that. So, what can our spirit teach us, or how could we view our relational patterns through the lens of spirit, our spirit?
I feel like your spirit wants to give the answer to that. So hold on.
Hmm.
She says the first step is don't see it as a failure. If you
Mhm.
outgrow a friend, we don't say, oh, I have a failed friendship, right? But we will say, I have a failed marriage. And so to just see it as evolution, and that hopefully we're all changing every day and every year.
Mhm.
A different person. And the chances of two people growing exactly parallel for their whole lives. I mean, there are some marriages that are 50, 60, 70 years, and that's great, but it's more often that they grow and they separate. Well, if you increase the amount of energy being sent to the earth, so now growth is happening faster, that's why you're seeing more of these splits.
Mhm.
Right?
Yes, that makes so much sense.
And so to just embrace that as what's next,
Mhm.
not again, that first mistake your spirit is saying is assuming that together forever, happily ever after is the goal. And it's really not. Your spirit is much more concerned with growth and expansion than with comfort and steadiness and predictability.
Yeah, I agree, Spirit. Thank you. Also, I feel like those 50, 60, 70-year-old marriages, 70-year marriages, I feel like they might be a bit from an older paradigm.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And usually a denser vibration. And
Yeah.
it's not, that's again, the people that are in their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s now, they're part of this newer paradigm where they're used to working with all these energies and going, well, what's next? Who am I now? And I want to make sure I'm in partnership with somebody who reflects who I am now and where my next step is.
Yeah, in all the ways, right? Like I was mentioning the women that I'm working with now and the dream clients that I feel like I have, and I call them spiritual partnership, and
Yeah.
then the groups that I run and the retreats that I facilitate and the friendships that I have, it just feels like it's all really aligned right now. But I'm also aware that like a year and a half ago, it didn't look like this. It didn't feel like
Right.
this, right? And
Right.
so it's that moment of being in the bardo, so to speak. Lee Harris recently spoke on a podcast about this, and I love him, and I know you do too.
Yeah.
It's like when we're in that sort of like the unknown, the waiting period of like, okay, they're gone, no one else is here, right? I'm taking a stand for who I am. But it's like just really just allowing for what wants to come in and will come in with a little bit of patience and trust.
Yeah. And that's in those waiting periods, I ask my spirit, what do I have to clean out since I'm sitting here, right? What old closet do I need to clean out in my mind so that I'm ready for the next highest jump I can make?
Yeah, I love that. So good, Christine. I could talk to you forever.
Same.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on. But I also know that we want to get this book in the hands of whomever feels called. And while it doesn't come out until June 10th, you are making sure that those who pre order get some pretty cool bonuses. And I also just want to share I'm not an affiliate. When there's really good, powerful work that can impact your life and help you change your life in these evolutionary times, I have to just be very clear, like, get this book. So, bonuses, because it's an incredible opportunity to learn from someone who is just so pure. So can you share about that bonus opportunity?
The bonus, if you order one book, is that divine centering technique. I pulled it out of the book and I made a whole guided meditation around it with music and me explaining how to do it. And people tell me they just play it every day, and they just once a day they'll do it when they get stressed at work or whatever, or before they sit and meditate. And if you buy 2 or 3 books, there's classes. And the first class is on clearing and cleansing your energy and putting up energetic shields, all those kinds of things. And then if you buy 4 or more books, we're going to have like a half day sort of retreat of question and answer where people can work with me and sit with me and ask what they want to ask after reading the book.
This is so perfect. And do you get the divine centering bonus like right away? Is that an immediate download, or do you?
Right there.
Wow,
So it
that's
holds
cool.
you over till you get the book and the classes, all that stuff. Yeah, you can get it.
Oh,
put it
you
in
get
there.
that stuff now. Oh my God, even better. Okay, yes. So where can people find this pre-order?
So go to my website, which is christinelang.org, or you can even, the book has its own website, askyourspirit.com. But either one, you go on there and you'll order it through Barnes and Noble or Amazon or Books A Million, whoever you order it through. And then you just put the receipt number in there and claim your prize. It gets sent to you in about 30 seconds. The email will land in your inbox.
So good. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is such an exciting, full, and fulfilling conversation for me. Is there anything that you would like to share, or is there anything that you wish had been asked, or that my spirit might be also wanting to get come through, or yours?
I will say, I would love to have people join my email list and follow me on social media, because even though I'm super booked, we probably get a cancellation a month, and we put them up on Instagram and they're usually gone within 2 hours. Somebody sees it and grabs it, but that is a good way to jump in and grab a session if you want. And I do a lot of teaching on social media as well. So
that's right. I love your reels. I love your shorts. I love everything that you guys are doing. And you're really grown a lot since I saw you last. I really want to take a moment to honor you and the team that you're building out on this beautiful divine mission. So you're everywhere at Christine Lang, yes?
Yes, Christine Lang. Yes, Christine Lang, medical intuitive, Christine Lang intuitive. You put anything in there, you'll find me. So
good. Okay, we will definitely link all of this in the show notes. And I'm just wishing you beautiful blessings on this remarkable voyage of birthing this book into the world and sharing it with those who really need it. I mean, I feel like eyes in, turn inward. That is what's essential in these times. All the noise, all the distraction, all the authority outside ourselves that we have been outsourcing for far too long. You're giving us the access and teaching us how to source from within. And so really
I think,
honor you.
yeah, I think especially for women, we've been trained and conditioned for so long to seek external authority for the answers. And now it's time for us to be turning inward to get the answers. And this is just tools for your toolbox to be able to go in and get that, and then have a way to sort of test it and feel if the answer is accurate for yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful and original and truly one of a kind, and only you could bring it to life. So
Oh,
thank you,
thank
sister. Oh, so
thank
grateful
you.
for you.
Oh,
All right. Well, beautiful, big congratulations. And I'm so excited to speak to you again.
oh, thank you. Always love talking to you.